Alrighty, here we go. Let's do it again. Welcome back and happy Wednesday, hump day, with just 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days left until Biden heads back to the beach for good. This week has been one of reflection. Unfortunately for America, tragedy has overlapped with Biden's trip down memory lane, and the president truly seems prepared to simply make that the next guy's problem. So many problems. He's dishing forward, kicking it forward to Trump. Despite numerous warnings, the state of California was in no way prepared for the devastating fires that have ravaged neighborhoods and destroyed countless lives. And to date, outside of a worthless 770 measly bucks, a check from the government, none of these people have gotten a damn thing. So how did we end up here? How was California, such a massive state, so wildly unprepared for such a predictable disaster? How did President Biden think that this catastrophic crisis would simply go away if he ignored it for long enough? The answer is simple. California has spent decades sinking time, money, and effort into the wrong causes. And so has our ignorant president and Barack Obama, his leader. This clip has resurfaced just about every single day since those fires broke out. And we're going to play it again because it is really relevant. Fortunately, this clip did more harm than good to the national DEI efforts we see every day. But this is what their leadership in California, really, frankly, the global leadership of Democrats and leftists has been focused on for the past 4 years.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
So the DEI the fire chief DEI hire is on camera saying, well, you know, if my house is burning and my husband's inside, you're going to be able to say, well, he got himself into it. So I hope he's able to get out. And by the way, also at the beginning of that clip, if you listen to it, they were talking about you want someone to show up who looks like you. How about this is everything that is wrong with our country right now. If I'm stuck in a burning building, do you think I give a rat's ass what the first responder looks like me or not? Send in anyone, male, female, black, white, I don't care. Hell, send in the Hulk or Spider-Man for all I care. It's a damn burning building. Stop making this about your feelings, liberals, and get me the hell out of a burning fire. Got plenty more to discuss, so as always, let's react. I dislike Gavin Newsom. That's putting it lightly. I've actually called him, see if he'd come on the show. I've known him a long time. He won't. Gavin Newsom is another radical leftist with a very, face you just want to smack, if you know what I mean. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same way. Don't call me violent. I'm not going to smack him, but I'd like to. All this man does, he's a freaking used car salesman. All he does is lie. When things are good, he says things are going great for his state. When his state is on fire, he acts like everything is just fine. Here he is talking to Circleback Jen Psaki, somehow still lying through his teeth about those California wildfires and their preparation. Listen.
What's not, I think, helpful or beneficial is the string of consciousness, these wild-eyed fantasies that somehow the state water project, we have reservoirs that are at or near historic highs, full, completely full, that somehow there's a magical spigot in California, in Northern California, that just can be turned on and all of a sudden there'll be rain or water flowing everywhere. It's not helpful. It's damaging to the very foundation of the notion of what are facts, what are truths. And the fact of that asymmetry, that's profound and consequential, amplified by people like, let's be candid, Elon Musk and others. And that 1-2 punch is real. And it's not just about this fire. Man, that's where hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation that can divide a country on a myriad of issues. This is serious.
That was a hurricane force winds of misinformation. That was like a very Kamala-esque word salad rant, wasn't it? Just with a few more SAT words sprinkled in. Okay, Gavin, since you think everyone's out to get you and everyone else is lying except for you, let's just do this the easy way. Attached to that very soundbite on Twitter, on X, readers added context. A little fact check was provided for the misinformation king himself. Now we're going to show it on the screen, folks, for those of you listening. And I'm quoting, and at the bottom of tweets or X's or posts, when they're lies, it's called community notes. Community notes actually do the fact checking for the X network. It's what Meta is going to start to do as well on Facebook and Instagram. They're going to start to community note rather than have their own idiotic censors pulling stuff down. So the community notes under that soundbite is saying, quoting, the reservoir near the Palisades fire, the massive fire, which is where it really started. Well, the reservoir near that Palisades fire was in fact shut down and empty. This is fact. So who's the liar now, Gavin? Your state is still on fire, yet you're talking and you're taking shameless mainstream interviews to try and make yourself look like some sort of knight in shining armor. How about you lift a single damn finger to make people's lives just a little bit better? How about you man up and say, we made mistakes and we'll fix them? I've just about given up on anything Gavin Newsom does from that governor's office. So how about you take off the suit? I don't know. Use a little less hair gel. Throw on a jacket. Don't clip it like David Muir did with a clothespin to make you look svelte. Throw on a jacket. Grab a damn hose. We're sick of these arrogant loser politicians. And I don't even live in California. I don't even like California. I don't want to dwell on Newsom any longer because he truly is lost cause. Chris Cuomo over at News Nation, I know it's Cuomo. I know, a liberal as long, but he's over at News Nation. He's trying to move to the center, and he may be starting to sound like he's making some sense. Listen to Chris Cuomo's take on Pete Hegseth and the hypocrisy, the sheer hypocrisy of the Democrat Party from yesterday's hearing.
So because of his marriage, he can't be trusted with the oath of office. 2 points of disgust. How many people on that committee, how many in Congress could pass the Cain test that you can't honor an oath to serve if you've ever been unfaithful? Cain may be sitting in that room alone. Who cares when we are talking about being the top warrior, not our pastor? I'll tell you who agreed with me once about this. Tim Kaine. He supported Bill Clinton for president. He didn't say he couldn't serve, despite all he knew about his peccadillos. He still backed him. Why? Is president not as important an oath? So what changed? You know, a bipartisan National Security Commission found we are not ready for war with China or Russia. Did you know that?
Way to go, Cuomo. Way to go. About time. Meek and Joe maybe take a lesson from Chris Cuomo. By the way, what's a picadillo or a peccadillo? I have no idea what that is. Hit me up on social media. Hit me up at the bottom. Put a comment on me. Let me know what a picadillo is. But this was never, this whole charade yesterday was never about Pete Hegseth personally. The hysteria was about, I don't know, Trump. Everything Trump has picked. Everything Trump wants to do. Democrats losing so badly they're trying to push back and desperately needing to shift the focus. Hegseth was attacked from across the aisle by a pack of liberal hypocrites who got crushed in the last election and are simply looking for a way to cause chaos before the inauguration. This party, that party on the left, is broken and desperate beyond belief. It's amazing to think that 93 senators voted to confirm Biden's Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. We're showing a picture of Lloyd Austin wearing not only a mask, but a plastic thing over his head, almost like a helmet from COVID, or worried about COVID. Someone who left his office without notice, by the way. One of the worst, probably the worst thing he did. Now, Afghanistan pullout was bad for Lloyd Austin, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. It was bad. But when Lloyd Austin left his post as the Secretary of Defense and didn't tell anyone, in fact, told his subordinate, don't tell anyone I'm going to the hospital, he put the whole country at risk. Not just his job, not just his family's income. He put America at risk by doing that. And that's why Lloyd Austin could be the worst Secretary of Defense in our history. And on the horrible Afghanistan withdrawal where 13 servicemen and women died. But it embarrassed the hell out of America whenever he showed his face or opened his mouth, Lloyd Austin did. So again, tell me what this is really about. Do Democrats have a problem with Pete Hegseth, or are they simply looking for a way to throw a wrench into Trump's plans? It's the latter. As if social and natural disasters that Joe Biden has ignored aren't enough. When was the last time anyone talked about inflation? Was that something we all just kind of gave up on? It's been so high for so long. Has everyone just kind of gotten used to paying more for stuff? With the Biden presidency from hell finally set to expire, CNN gave us some of old Joe's final statistics, a scoreboard, so to speak. Let's take a listen.
Start with the bad news, 2.9%. That's the annual inflation rate. This was hotter than expected. It's the third straight month where this number has gone up, further away from that 2% goal. And this is the highest since July. Also, the monthly number was a little bit hotter than expected. When we look at the trend.
Fine. Yeah, here they are. Now they're finally saying it. Finally, they recognize 9.5% inflation for, a year and a half ago for the better part of 2022 was insane. And by the way, 2.5% or 3% inflation is already on top of 9% from before. It's not lower than it was before. It's just less added to the 9%. Notice how all the BS economic messaging ended after Kamala's horrible election embarrassment. Seems like the White House gave up as well. As bad as those numbers may seem, the real statistics are far worse. Prices are up almost 21% across the board since Joe Biden took office. They were here when he took office. They're here now. They spiked up. They slowed down the spike, but they continue to rise. So the BS about Joe bringing inflation down is a lie. They think we're all simply getting used to living with it. We've grown accustomed to paying more for basically everything, $8, $10 for a dozen eggs in America. We've gotten used to being silenced, to being censored, and being mocked for being conservatives. We had been. That's all changing. We've come to terms with an unsafe country, overrun by illegals, and facing international threats every single day. This is no way to live. And not the America that Joe Biden inherited either. This all happened under Joe Biden. In 5 short days, we can all begin to rediscover what made the country great. Hopefully, we will soon be reacquainted with the quality of life that American people once knew and loved. Make America great again. So my good friend Bob Unanue, also a great follow on Twitter, folks. Follow Bob. He's the CEO of Goya Foods. He would love to get you because, again, he's sponsoring the show. I told him I'm going to put his Twitter handle out there. So go out on social media, follow Bob Unanue, Unanue from Goya. He's a great follow on Twitter. In 2021, Goya launched Goya Cares, a global initiative to protect children and educate children on mental health. Goya Cares is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of the Goya Cares Press Pause movie. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among children, teens, and in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce, set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign, promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help. Through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness, Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. All right, folks, time for today's Truth Bomb. Okay, so Truth Bomb, always uncensored, always real. I love math, folks. I love to do the numbers. So California wildfires raging. Californians are losing everything. Tens of billions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars aggregately. So Joe Biden, in his infinite wisdom as a complete moron, decided to make this statement and really be careful on how he speaks those last few words. Listen.
I want to be clear. We're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770. One-time payment.
So I want to emphasize, he said one-time payments, and he said it twice because he really means one-time payments. So let's talk a little bit about what this really is. Joe Biden's U.S. versus the Ukraine funding, okay? In Ukraine, Joe himself and the Democrats have sent $183 billion to Ukraine in funding. It wasn't one time, Joe. It wasn't one time. It's probably 10 separate times you've sent them billions upon billions of dollars. Sending Ukrainians $183 billion, that's $10,750,000 per household. Do the math. There's 17,000 households in Ukraine. $183 billion. It's $10 million, almost $11 million per household. But Joe, with one of the worst natural disasters in American history, and by the way, in America, with Americans suffering, $770 per household. $770 per household for Americans, $11 million per household for Ukrainians. Truth bomb, folks, Joe Biden hates America. Well, the Grand Delusions Tour, remember that? What was that? Grand Delusions Tour. It's a rock history. I can't remember. I'm a Grand Delusion. Anyway, the Grand Delusions Tour continues. How much more of this do we have to take? Or how about how much more of this do we let Joe Biden and his clown posse get away with? 5 days left, folks. Inflation grew again in December. We just found out today. Prices have gone up by more than 20%, almost 21% under Biden. And yet, he's spent whatever time he's not on vacation during his presidency lying through his dentures about how amazing his economy is. Planes have been losing parts, near crashes in the sky and on airport runways. Have we seen any sign of Pete Buttigieg, by the way, the transportation secretary? This guy's too busy breastfeeding to do anything about the rising issues plaguing the aviation industry. Where's Pete? Nowhere. But just listen to President Trump's pick for Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy today. Listen to this.
I had a legacy of improving safety. I had a legacy of working with this committee, but specifically Senator Cantwell, to make sure we get Boeing back on track, producing great airplanes that are safe airplanes. And also, as President Trump has charged, building the big infrastructure projects that connect this country, without forgetting, by the way, rural America that uses that incredibly important infrastructure. But those three things I would like to be a legacy from a tenure as the Secretary of Transportation.
That's called doing the job you're given to do. But Joe Biden doesn't give a damn about that. And now Joe thinks his foreign policy was a winner. Did you hear that? Out of touch much, Joe? You know, it takes a certain amount of hubris to become a leader, a politician, a president above all. That takes a unique quality, a little asterisk here. For example, Bush 43 is daddy's name to get there, to be fair, by the way. And that first election was tougher than a drum, hanging chads and all. And then Bush 43, he won. He won the second term. But to be fair, that was also a unique post 9/11 era. I digress, but the digress is important here because despite the caveats, even Bush 43 still proves my point, and that is this, that despite certain mistakes, presidents don't tend to acknowledge those mistakes publicly and fully. Quite the contrary. That's the hubris I'm talking about. After all, there have only been 46, and maybe, just maybe, and this is some devil's advocate stuff right here, part of it is a strategy to protect and preserve the reputation of the highest office in the world. So you don't maybe admit to mistakes, I guess. But with the big guy, that does not and cannot apply. Joe Biden, our 46th president, is by now indisputably the worst president of all time in every single category possible. He's a liar. He's a corrupted cat. He's treasonous. He's completely unlikable and always has been. He's creepy. I would say he's even racist. He's not just some old, unlikable, crotchety, senile man like some sort of character in a Clint Eastwood movie. No, Joe Biden has always been a hateable SOB. And again, likely racist too. Basically zero redeemable qualities. How in the hell did he ever become president? But as president, I don't think I ever quite imagined just how truly awful Joe Biden could be on every single domestic policy, from the economy to crime to immigration. Shameful, unforgivable. But on foreign policy, that's a poisonous Biden stain, not just on America, but also for the entire sane world to see. And for him to stand there and applaud himself, just shocking and appalling. But it's also something we cannot and will not let the geriatric in chief get away with. This is just not about the big guy confusing Zelensky with Putin, which he did. Listen.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
I mean, think about the leader of the free world, Joe Biden, calling Zelensky, who he's given $183 billion to, calling him Putin, the guy who's attacking Ukraine. And these freaking Democrats and the White House and the vice president and Joe Biden, and they all kept their damn mouths shut. Barack Obama, all you stupid celebrities, you kept your mouth shut. The guy was gone. He was gone 3 years ago. It's a lot worse than that. Let's get into it. We all figured this might be true, but in case you were wondering, not all of Joe's delusions are his own. Knowing the big guy couldn't always remember where he was or who he was or what he was supposed to be, well, that kept stuff from him. The people did. Bad polling. Remember they say it was all bad polling. Doctors' results. So I reckon this full forgetfulness, this downtrodden mess, might actually believe some of the stuff he peddles himself, perched on his throne as the ultimate king of disinformation. Question is he so delusional that he believes it himself, or is he just reading shit that's on note cards? I say it's the latter. I think he's so gone, he just reads stuff. He reads it if it's in a teleprompter. He reads it if it's on a note card. Remember the note card saying, "You are president, sit down now." Calling out people when they're dead. But on the way out, and I wish he would just leave already, and I know we all feel that same way, every day since November 5th, it's like it's so close, but yet so far, because he can screw everything up. This guy won't shut up about how great of a president he is. Jake Sullivan, the NSA guy, on Sunday yammering about how America is now safer and better off than we were 4 years ago. Are you kidding me, Jake Sullivan?
Well, I think the American people are safer and the country is better off than we were 4 years ago. And we're handing all that off to the next team, as well as having the engines of American power humming, our economy, our technology, our defense industrial base, our supply chains. So the United States is in a stronger, more secure position, and our competitors and adversaries are weaker and under pressure. I think that's the main handoff that we will make to the coming team.
Lie, 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 as Elaine would say on Seinfeld. Are they kidding with that? Are we safer? Really? Always ask Lincoln Riley or the 14 people who died in New Orleans on New Year's Day, or the 13 or 14 service members who died in Afghanistan. This is better. This is a better place, Jake Sullivan, you lying, slithering snake. It's loathsome. This little end zone dance these communist jackals are performing right now is disgusting. The American people are safer and the country is better off than we were 4 years ago, says Jake. Are you serious? Can you really think you can say that with a straight face? The magnitude of their lies, the arrogance, the impossibility of these lying declarations reflect the absolute and utter contempt these people, the leftist Democrat Party, have for the American people. Joe has even boasted about his strong economy right in the middle of a California wildfire. Hey, Joe, if your economy is so damn strong, then why are each of those who lost everything, all their households, they lost everything, their homes, their cars, everything, some of them their pets, everything they've ever had, their pictures, their memories. Why are you giving them $770 per household, Joe? As I pointed out in the Truth Bomb, you've given Ukrainian households almost $11 million each. You've given Ukrainian households almost $11 million each. But if you're in California, you lost everything. You're an American, $770. And what was it, $750 to the people in North Carolina? But then Joe the Butcher, said this, and we just cannot allow it.
My administration is leaving the next administration with a very strong hand to play. And we're leaving them in America with more friends and stronger alliances, whose adversaries are weaker and under pressure. An America that once again is leading, uniting countries, setting the agenda, bringing others together behind our plans and visions.
So Joe stands there with other world leaders at a G7 meeting, meet and greet, summit, whatever, and he talks like this, like when he's on that global stage, it's somehow like he's a tough guy or something. He is a pussy. Sorry. All right, strike that. He's a wimp. He's a wussy. Is that better? More acceptable? Sorry. But a strong hand, Joe Biden saying we have a strong hand now? A strong hand in what? Hopscotch? Joe talks about an expanding NATO like it's somehow a good thing. You mean the organization that sucks money out of America to protect the rest of the group? That NATO? That's what Joe is celebrating? Well, why did NATO expand? Big guy Finland and Sweden joined NATO because Russia invaded Ukraine. And that never would have happened if it weren't you, Joe Biden, if it wasn't Joe Biden in office. Biden's deterrence failed. Threatening to add Ukraine to NATO failed. And now, guess what? There's two more countries for America to overpay for, which will no doubt come to an end once President Trump gets back into the Oval Office. Remember, Trump famously said NATO, 27 members, now 29 members. You have to fork over 3% of your GDP, each country. 3% of your GDP has to go into NATO. That's your price for NATO every single year. We put in like 6%. Germany puts in 1%. We're protecting Germany. They put 1% in. They're a scofflaw. What are the rest going to do? Montenegro? Are you kidding me? What's 3% of Montenegro's GDP? $50? Now we got to protect Montenegro? What else does Sir Napsalot consider one of his greatest achievements? I don't know. Let's think. Aid to Ukraine to the tune of $183 billion plus. Again, to help fund a war that should not and would not have happened if Joe Biden didn't basement campaign his lying ass into the White House. And Joe boasts about that just as he offers $770 to those who lost everything in fires. And let me just get this straight, okay? Those Americans who suffered in East Palestine, Ohio, got $750. Maui, also Americans in Hawaii. Wildfires ravaged that place, $750. Southeast U.S., $750. And then brag about sending all of those hundreds of billions of dollars to feed a never-ending war that won't even help change the inevitable outcome of that war. Joe the Butcher dares to stand on stage and brag like he has some sort of foreign policy achievements. It's insane. Joe, this is not a game you want to play with the American people. We've got the receipts. Maybe, just maybe, the disaster of an exit from Afghanistan wouldn't have been quite as bad. It was horrible. We lost service members, but it may have been just a little bit less bad for you if you weren't responsible for the deaths of those 13 servicemen and women. But then, after that, you looked down at your watch, didn't you, Joe? You looked down at your watch during the dignified transfer. Remember that? 13 draped coffins of service members coming off an airplane at Andrews. And you didn't have time for it. You had something better to do, Joe, didn't you? It was your fault. What a pitiful and disgusting display that was. We'll never forget that. Mr. Chocolate Chip Ice Cream spent 40% of his presidency on vacation. Proof. Not making it up. It's a number. They keep track of these things. The other 60% on his knees, showing as much weakness and deference possible to our adversaries, Iran, Russia. And after Russia and China and Iran saw what went down in Afghanistan, they knew they were dealing with just 40% on a good day. That was their chance to have their way with America, our allies, and the world. And the people responsible for that disaster, the likes of Lloyd Austin, who, by the way, we're now learning that during his secret 2024 hospitalization that he took medication that could have affected his cognitive functions while still in command. Think about that. Told his subordinate, don't tell anyone I'm going to the hospital. And then he was given medications that likely affected his cognitive abilities. That guy put America at risk, at major risk. That's the guy in charge of the country's military. Think about that. What kind of message is that sending to our adversaries that he can just be incapacitated like that and Joe does nothing at all to hold him accountable, right? He didn't get fired. Or worse, Joe did know and didn't feel it necessary to have a plan in place and alert the American people he's responsible for protecting. The commander in sleep, folks, the commander in sleep. Biden leaves President Trump with the task of having to rebuild our military with a budget deficit in the middle of the inflation he created, Joe created, thanks to his monster socialist blowout spending spree. Trump's up for the job, though. Thank God. If this is a strong hand, then I'd hate to see what a weekend looks like. Go away, Joe. Go home. All right, here's a kicker. 5 more days of this. The next generation will one day learn about the greatest political scandal in American history, the relentless cover-up of Joe Biden's true mental state.
Establishment of the Highlands National Monument. Here we go. Got to fill this in. I know, Santino, I'm trying, the day of, in this hand, you'll fill in the dates here, guys? All right. The 14th, sir. No, I know that, but I don't want to.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine our president can't figure out where to sign the document for something as trivial as a statue? They're erecting a statue. He signs it. It's all ceremonial. Can't figure out where to sign the house. Just sign the freaking thing, Joe. Even if it's wrong, just sign the thing. You look like a bumbling idiot. Joe must go. Bowling out. See you tomorrow.